A mother walks into the busy hospital, her small child clinging to her side. She looks tired but determined. The child has been feeling sick for the past few days, and it's getting worse. The mother tries to comfort her child, who is restless and pale. The hospital is filled with people. Some are sitting in chairs, others are standing, waiting their turn. There's a sense of chaos in the air, with doctors and nurses moving quickly from one patient to the next. The mother glances around, noticing the worried expressions on the faces of others. She adjusts her bag and shifts her child in her arms. The waiting area feels crowded, and the noise of people talking and phones ringing fills the space. She tries to stay calm, telling herself that it'll be okay. She knows the hospital is busy, but her child's condition is serious, and she needs help. She approaches the reception desk, hoping to speak to someone soon. The receptionist looks up briefly, then quickly returns to her paperwork. The mother waits, shifting from foot to foot, feeling a little out of place in the crowded room. It's her first time here, and she doesn't know what to expect. She just hopes her child gets the care they need soon. The mother takes a deep breath and approaches the receptionist's desk. She's trying her best to stay calm, but her worry for her child is growing. The child is starting to cough more frequently now, and the mother knows something isn't right. She politely tells the receptionist, "My child's been sick for a few days. I'm really concerned about their condition." The receptionist doesn't look up from her screen. "Just wait your turn," she says flatly, without a hint of sympathy. The mother hesitates for a moment, unsure if she heard that correctly. She repeats her concern more urgently. "Please, my child is really unwell. Could someone check on them?" The receptionist sighs, clearly irritated. She looks the mother over briefly, then shakes her head. "I said, wait your turn. We're busy." Her tone is dismissive, as if the mother's words don't matter. The mother feels a knot form in her stomach. She's never been treated like this before. The frustration and fear in her chest grow, but she doesn't want to cause trouble. She turns away from the desk, looking around for any other staff member who might help. But it seems like everyone is either too busy or too focused on their own work to notice her. The mother's hands start to shake. She shifts her child in her arms, trying to soothe them with soft words, but her own voice wavers. "It's okay, baby. We're going to get help soon." But as time passes, it becomes clear that no one is rushing to assist them. The mother watches as other people around her are called back to see a doctor, treated with respect, their needs met quickly. She feels a pang of frustration. Why wasn't she getting the same treatment? The more she waits, the more it feels like she's being ignored on purpose. Her child coughs again, more harshly this time. The mother tries to catch the receptionist's eye, but the receptionist seems determined not to make eye contact. Instead, she gestures impatiently for the mother to sit down and wait. The feeling of being dismissed hits the mother like a punch in the stomach. She is doing her best to stay calm for her child, but inside her anger is building. Why wasn't anyone listening? The minutes drag on, stretching into what feels like hours. The mother sits in a crowded corner of the waiting room, holding her sick child close. Her child's coughs are more frequent now, and their body feels warm against her arm. She presses her hand to their forehead, hoping for a change, but there's no sign of improvement. Her heart races as she watches the other patients being called in for treatment. Some people barely seem to be in any pain, yet they are being seen right away. It's hard not to feel a sense of injustice. Her child is sick, and she knows something isn't right, but no one is giving her the attention she needs. It's like she's invisible, as if her worries don't matter. She shifts uncomfortably in her seat, feeling the weight of everyone else's stares but not a single offer of help. The nurse walks by again, barely sparing her a glance. The mother tries to speak up one more time, her voice shaking as she asks, "Excuse me, could someone check on my child?" They don't seem to be getting any better. The nurse doesn't stop. She simply gives a quick, uninterested glance at the mother, and then turns her back, walking down the hall. The mother's face flushes with embarrassment. She feels like she's asking for something unreasonable, but she knows she's not. She's doing her best to stay calm, but the sense of helplessness is overwhelming. Her child coughs again, the sound sharp and painful. The mother feels a deep frustration building inside her, but she remains quiet. She doesn't want to make a scene, doesn't want to draw attention to herself. But deep down, she knows something needs to change. She's at the edge of losing patience. The system, the people, everything feels like it's working against her. Every passing minute feels like another moment her child's health is being ignored. She tries to focus on the child, whispering soothing words, but it's hard to concentrate when all she can feel is the weight of the situation pressing down on her. The fear she's been holding back all this time is now creeping forward, threatening to overwhelm her. She looks around again, desperate for someone to notice her, but it's as if she's invisible in the sea of people. The tension in the room grows thicker, and the air feels heavier with every passing second. Just as the tension seems unbearable, a figure walks into the waiting area. It's a senior doctor, dressed in a white coat, his presence commanding attention. He seems to have a calm, confident air about him, standing tall as he surveys the room. His eyes scan the faces of the patients, lingering briefly on the anxious mother sitting in the corner. He notices her immediately, her worry, her discomfort, the way she holds her child protectively in her arms. The doctor pauses for a moment. Something about the mother's expression stands out. He walks over to her, his steps purposeful and measured. As he approaches, the mother looks up at him with a mix of surprise and hope. The doctor notices the child's pale face and the way the mother is holding them, clearly distressed. "Is everything okay here?" he asks, his voice calm but firm. The mother hesitates for a moment, unsure whether she should speak up or if it will only make things worse. She takes a deep breath, trying to keep her emotions in check. "My child has been very sick, and I've been waiting for a while. No one has been able to help us." The doctor nods, his expression thoughtful. He looks at the receptionist, then back to the mother. There's no rush in his movements. He doesn't look like someone trying to get out of a situation, but rather like someone who truly cares. "Let me take a look at your child," he says, offering a reassuring smile. "We'll make sure you get the care you need." He gently takes a step closer to the mother, giving her child a careful examination. The doctor's demeanor is professional, yet kind. He speaks to the mother with patience, asking her about her child's symptoms and the duration of the illness. The mother, finally feeling heard, explains everything as best as she can. Her voice less shaky now, though still filled with concern. The doctor listens carefully, his eyes never leaving the child. He notes the signs of distress and quickly takes action. "Don't worry," he says quietly, "we'll get this under control." He turns to the receptionist, who has been watching this exchange from a distance. "This child needs immediate attention," he states firmly. "Please have them seen by a pediatrician as soon as possible." The receptionist, who had been ignoring the mother before, now looks up in surprise. She can't argue with the senior doctor's words. Her eyes shift uneasily and she starts to type something into the computer. The doctor then turns back to the mother. "You've been patient. I'll make sure your child is treated right away," he reassures her, giving her a kind look. The mother, overwhelmed with relief, nods, her voice barely a whisper as she says, "Thank you so much." The doctor's actions are swift and confident. His presence seems to change the entire atmosphere in the room. The receptionist, now feeling the pressure of the senior doctor's authority, quickly moves to call for the necessary staff. Other patients who had been oblivious to the mother's struggle now take notice, seeing the shift in the room's energy. The doctor doesn't just walk away after ensuring that the mother's needs are addressed. He stays for a moment longer, watching as the mother is escorted to a nearby exam room with her child. His presence is a quiet but powerful statement. Everyone deserves to be treated with care and respect. The senior doctor doesn't leave the waiting room right away. He stands by, watching the mother and child as they are led to the exam room. His sharp eyes scan the staff around him, noting the interactions and the atmosphere in the room. He walks back to the receptionist's desk, where she's still tapping away at her computer, trying to act as though nothing is wrong. With authority, the doctor clears his throat. The receptionist looks up, startled by his presence. He doesn't say anything immediately, allowing the silence to hang in the air for a moment. When he speaks, his voice is calm but firm. "Do you realize that a child was just waiting here for help while others were being treated, this mother and child were ignored and left to suffer, even though her child was clearly unwell. The receptionist shifts uncomfortably in her seat, her eyes flicking nervously to the other staff members nearby. She can't meet his gaze. "I didn't." She starts, but the doctor cuts her off, not allowing her to brush off the situation. "No excuses. You saw the child, you saw the mother, and yet you allowed them to wait for far too long, while others were seen without hesitation." The doctor's words are direct, without a hint of anger, but there's a weight to them that makes the receptionist's cheeks flush with guilt. He doesn't raise his voice, but it's clear he's not going to let the situation slide. A nurse who had previously walked past the mother without a word, overhears the conversation and steps forward. She lowers her gaze as the doctor speaks to her as well. "It's unacceptable to treat patients like this. Every individual who comes through these doors deserves the same care and respect no matter who they are. This situation should never have happened. You need to do better." The nurse nods, her face showing clear signs of discomfort. The doctor's eyes are steady, and there's no room for argument. His message is clear. Their actions, or lack thereof, were unacceptable. There is no excuse for dismissing someone in need, especially a mother with a sick child. He turns back to the receptionist, now more visibly unsettled. "I expect this to be addressed right away. This hospital is here to care for people, not to ignore their needs based on assumptions or impatience." The receptionist, now fully aware of the seriousness of the situation, nods silently. The doctor waits for a moment, ensuring that his words have had the necessary impact, before turning to leave the desk area. His focus shifts back to the mother and child, making sure the immediate care is on track. Before he walks away, he looks back at the receptionist once more. "Do not forget the responsibility we have here. Every patient should feel seen and heard. No one is to be dismissed." The receptionist quietly watches him leave, a weight of realization settling over her. There's no easy way out of this situation. The senior doctor's words have been a wake-up call. The hospital staff has just been reminded of what it means to truly serve the people who walk through their doors. The atmosphere in the hospital seems to shift almost immediately. The senior doctor's intervention has made an impact. As the mother and her child are led into the exam room, the tension in the waiting area starts to fade. The receptionist, still visibly rattled, begins to process the mother's information properly. The nurse who had ignored the mother earlier now approaches her with a new, respectful demeanor, asking if there's anything else she can do to help. Inside the exam room, the mother breathes a sigh of relief. The pediatrician is already there, ready to take action. The child is examined quickly, with the doctor explaining each step of the process in a calm and reassuring manner. The mother, though still shaken by what happened earlier, begins to feel a sense of comfort. Her child's condition is being addressed. They are finally getting the care they need. The senior doctor's work isn't done yet. He checks in on them a few minutes later, his tone gentle, yet purposeful. "How are we doing in here?" he asks the pediatrician, making sure everything is going smoothly. The mother looks up, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she says, her voice still soft but filled with relief. "I wasn't sure we would get help today." The senior doctor offers a reassuring smile. "You're welcome. Your child will be fine. They're in good hands now." He pauses for a moment before turning to the mother. "And thank you for your patience. I'm sorry that you had to experience what you did today. It shouldn't have happened." The mother nods, though she feels conflicted. The relief of her child being taken care of doesn't completely erase the sting of how she was treated. But she understands that the situation has changed. The senior doctor's presence, his actions, and the way he spoke up made all the difference. She feels seen for the first time since entering the hospital. As the doctor prepares to leave the room, he turns one last time to the mother. "If you need anything else, don't hesitate to ask. We're here to help you," he says kindly, before stepping out of the room and closing the door behind him. For the first time since arriving, the mother feels a sense of peace. The weight that had been pressing on her shoulders is finally beginning to lift. Her child is being cared for, and she can finally breathe easier. As she watches the pediatrician attend to her child, she can't help but feel a sense of gratitude toward the senior doctor who stepped in when no one else did.